Hello everyone, my name is Kenny Cormandy from the airgun channel My Airgun Reviews, and today we're looking at a Hatsan 125 Sniper that I have converted from spring piston to a Vortex piston. When I got this gun, it looked pretty rough. I could tell it had been apart. A little shoot up right around here where somebody had taken this out, and there was a pin that holds the safety in place that was bent, so I know somebody had been into it. I got the gun fairly cheap. It was missing the scope stop, the front screw and keeper that holds the cheek rest in place, and a few things like that. So I got it cheap, and I ordered a Vortex piston from Hatsan. And Hatsan knew the piston was going to be used in a video, and I think just to be sure, they made sure I got one that had max pressure in it. And I'll show you a picture of the box that it came in. So, you know, it says max pressure on it, so I'm pretty sure they made sure I got one that was at least a full 145. The maximum pressure for a Vortex piston is 150 psi. It comes with two pieces. Here, I'll show you a picture of that. There's a couple other pieces that I ordered for this, including a fill probe. So it's just the piston at the bottom and the piece in the upper left-hand corner of the picture. So anyway, when I test fired this thing, I used the pellet that was the most powerful in my Hatsan 125 Sniper 22 caliber, which is the H&N Hornet, and it was also the most powerful in the Hatsan 135 QE Vortex 25 caliber, and so I used that as a basis, and I fired it over the Peroni, and unfortunately I lost those numbers, but I've got the maximum speed and the extreme spread here, and that H&N Hornet 23.16 grain pellet with the spring piston in it had a maximum of 781.9 feet per second with only a 5.62 foot per second extreme spread. That fastest shot generated 31.44 foot-pounds muzzle energy. That pretty much made this the most powerful break barrel pellet rifle I had ever shot, and I have not seen anybody review a break barrel pellet rifle with that kind of muzzle energy. So it was already the most powerful break barrel pellet I'd ever seen. Probably one of the most powerful break barrel pellet rifles in the world, literally. So I did not film the actual conversion because it was the first time I had gone into a Hatsan break barrel, and it was a little tricky, and I learned a couple of things when converting from spring piston to vortex piston. There's a little plastic or hard rubber washer or shim inside the piston. That has to come out. That is for spring use only, and if it stays in there, you put the vortex piston in, it will not cock. So I had to tear everything down again, and I thought I had actually done something wrong with the trigger, and I went through the trigger, and I even took the trigger out of my 22 caliber sniper, and naturally it fell apart when I took it out. And so I learned a lot about the triggers on this thing. But anyway, I put the trigger from this one in the 22 sniper, and it worked perfectly, so I knew it was something else. So I looked at the diagrams and I saw that shim in there, or that plastic washer. I removed that, put it all together, and the gun cocked and fired. So when you convert one of these from spring piston to vortex piston, you don't have to take the piston out, but you got to make sure that plastic or hard rubber washer comes out of there, or the gun will not cock when you put it back together. But anyway, when I first started shooting this thing over the Coroni, the numbers were all over the place. I mean, it was just shooting wildly. I got extreme spreads of as high as 61.25 feet per second shooting the H&N Barracuda Hunter, and as high as 33.85 feet per second shooting the H&N Hornet, 55 feet per second, actually above that, shooting the H&N Barracuda. And it finally settled down when I got to the H&N Cro-Magnums. The extreme spread dropped down to 15.01. At that point I shot the H&N Hornets again, and the extreme spread was cut in half. It was down to 17.91. I think if I would have run them over the Coroni one more time, the extreme spread would have even been lower. But the bottom line is, once I ran those pellets over the chronograph again, this was again the most powerful break barrel pellet rifle I had ever seen. With the H&N Hornet 23.16 grain pellet, from spring piston it was a high of 781.9 feet per second, and the fastest shot I got with the H&N Hornets with the vortex piston was 787.7 feet per second. That is a whopping 31.92 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. I mean, that's, you may as well say 32 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. I have never seen that out of anything less than a PCP. This thing does have PCP power. I think it's probably more powerful than the Benjamin Marauder. And I got very good muzzle energy out of a lot of pellets. The H&N Cro-Magnum 26.33 grain, I got a high of 31.1 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Shooting the JSB Exact Kings, I got 29.88. Shooting the JSB Exact King Mark IIs, which are a 33.95 grain pellet, I got a high of 31.24 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. And get this, shooting the Yunjin 43.2 grain pellets, I got a high of 571.9 feet per second, and the extreme spread was 25.09, but a high muzzle energy of 31.38. And the Yunjins actually turned out to be one of the most accurate pellets with this rifle. So first of all, I'm going to put up the power numbers for this, and then we will go to the 20-yard outdoor accuracy test. So first, here's the power numbers. Okay, now let's take a look at the 20-yard accuracy test. I tested 4 pellets and I settled on 2, the JSB Exact King Mark II 33.95 grain, and the second one is the Yunjin 43.2 grain pellets. Now, I didn't do the greatest job today. I shot this thing about 140 times yesterday, and my arm was kind of limp. it does take some cocking effort. The maximum cocking effort through any part of the cocking cycle is kind of early on. That measured 50.5 pounds of cocking effort, and through the last half of the cocking stage it was anywhere from 47 to 43 pounds, which I really thought it was kind of light in cocking effort, but you know, with the spring piston it's more steady all the way through the pressure. But when you're cocking this one, it's the first part of the cocking stage is the stiffest, and as you finish out, it gets a little bit lighter, and I kind of like that. But for 50 pounds of cocking effort, which is not easy, but it's less than some of the other super magnum springers, this thing puts out incredible muzzle energy. Now, I was going to compare this gun to the Hatsan 135 Vortex QE in 25 caliber, but I'm not sure it would be a fair comparison, because right now for maximum muzzle energy, this one is almost 3 foot-pounds of muzzle energy higher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a video on pumping up the Vortex piston on that 135 carnivore Vortex. I will show you the breakdown, and then we'll take the piston out and fill probe. We're going to go over to an air gun repair shop, and we're going to top that piston off to over 145 bar, somewhere between 145 and 150. And once we get that all done, there's a squirrel just begging to be shot. He's carrying one of the apples from my apple tree. But I don't have any pellets out here, so I can't shoot him. But the cost of the Vortex piston from Hatsan is $64.95, $5 shipping, and it comes with all the parts. Like I said, there's the piston and the one back piece, because when you got the spring piston, this back piece here that these 3 pins go through, that's one piece. In the Vortex piston, it's 2 piece. You gotta put the piston in, and then you put in the second piece, get them lined up, and then you crank them in with your spring compressor and put your pins through. We'll go through all that when I do the breakdown of the 135. The pistons are different, but the bore is the same, and everything else. So everything's going to be pretty much the same as this when I do that video. So once you see that, you'll know how to do it on both the 135 and the 125s. But right now, this is, I think, one of the most powerful break barrel pellet rifles on the planet. And it is accurate. In the accuracy test, both the pellets, the Unigine and the JSP Exec King Mark IIs, 4 pellets were within 0.5 inch center to center, and both pellets had 1 flyer, which is more shooter air than it is the gun, and making the overall pattern 0.76 inch on both of them. They were identical patterns, so the JSB Exact King Mark IIs and the Unigine 43.2 grains, both generating excellent muzzle energy. The max 31.24 on the JSPs, and the max on the Unigines 31.38. That's a lot of muzzle energy, and you could hear during the video how hard those pellets were whacking that backstop at 20 yards. This thing has got a lot of power, and I'm pretty sure it's going to have lots of kill power at 50 yards. Maybe get a little stronger after all these chemo treatments. I can get it down to Belle Plaine out in the country and do a 50-yard accuracy test on it, and maybe even see if we can measure the muzzle energy at that distance. But I was afraid to do a downrange energy loss with the Unigine pellets with that 135 QE, because that gun shot those pellets all over the place. And this gun shoots them very, very good. One of the most accurate pellets for this gun. And the Ungens are really cheap too, you know, and heavy, 43.2 grain. So I think it's kind of nice that you can use a really heavy pellet like that and get that kind of energy, and you know, you're going to knock down a coyote with those. This thing has really got a lot of power, and right now I haven't seen anything that Hatsan puts out that compares to this kind of muzzle energy. And I'm really excited about it, and it is a hold sensitive gun, you know, even with the Vortex Piston, it is hold sensitive. That's why you saw those flyers. If you're just a little bit off, the pellet's going to be off a little bit. This gun really wants to, I was holding it tight with this left hand and tight with my right hand, and so it was, you know, that is where I get the best accuracy. If I use the artillery hold like this, the pellets are all over the place. This gun does not like the artillery hold. And so, you know, when you're using these Super Magnum Hatsans, all of them like to be held tight with your left hand, tight with your right hand, or vice versa if you're a lefty. And the scope I used was this CV Life 6-24 by 50 adjustable objective. It did a very good job. I've now shot this thing 170 times, and I put 150 rounds through the 125 TH with this scope on it. So this thing has withstood about 130 rounds through a couple of Hatsan 125s, and this scope has really stood up good so far. We'll see how it does at 1,000 shots. But anyway, that's what you can expect with a maximum pressure Vortex piston. And I'm going to break down the 135, and I'll do the complete video on that and top off the pressure, and then we'll compare the two guns and see how we do. Anyway, that's my report on the Hatsan 125 Sniper converted from spring piston to a Vortex piston. Thank you for watching.